Hey guys, thanks for joining us back out here at the Range Report. And today is not going to be a typical gun review, but rather a product review. Well, I can't even really call it a review, just more or less an assessment, a for your information kind of thing. You know that there's always going to be a big push for firearm safety legislation. You know, they want us to keep our guns locked up and safe so people can't get to them and everything else like that. And there's a whole host of different products that are designed to do that, from the hidden cabinets to the shelves that drop down and you get your gun and all the rest of that stuff. And, those are all fine and great and dandy, but, you always have to have a place to actually secure one of those things, mount it and everything. And a lot of times they're not the most convenient in a time of crisis, in a time when you actually need to have access to your firearm. They're great for, you put your stuff away, and that's great. You got kids running their house, you don't want to have them getting access to your firearms and everything. That's fantastic. But anytime we talk about firearm safety and firearm storage, we also have to be concerned with firearm access if and when the time should arrive. And one of the big products that we see out on the market right now are desktop safes, concealed safes, stuff that's biometric, combination, all the rest of that stuff, whether electronic or mechanical. Well, what we've done is this. We came up with an assortment of the most commonly available gun safes that you find on the market. Now, we have all the name brands all covered up, and this is not going to be a review as to which brand is better or worse than the other, because quite frankly, they all use pretty much the same technology. And they're all built somewhere overseas, so no matter whose name is on them, the insides are pretty much the same as, going one from another. They might change the configuration a little bit, they might change the sounds a little bit, the textures, the stamps, whatever it's going to be. They're all going to be pretty much the same thing. And when you're dealing with something that's all the same thing, and you want to try and get a variety of them, well, you got to do a little bit of picking and choosing to see which ones are going to, be the most different. And when it comes down to it, there's not a lot of variation. But we've tried to come up with some, and we want to run through them with you, not so much to showcase what they do, but how they do it. And whether or not this is something that you can put your safety and your trust into. Because, all right, in disclosure, here it's me and my wife. Okay, it's just us. We don't have kids running around. I pretty much have my firearm on me even when we're sitting down eating dinner. So there's not a lot of chance of me leaving the gun around anywhere. Now, when we have company over, of course, I safeguard my firearms. Nobody's in my house that doesn't belong here, and anybody who's in my house is somebody I already trust. And if they have kids, naturally, we make sure to safeguard so that the kids don't have access to anything that they shouldn't. And even when the kids are here, I'm pretty much still having my firearm on my person. At least I can keep track of it there. Everything else is locked away. A lot of people don't have that luxury. They have kids running around the house. They may be too young to, be educated in firearms. You guys have to make that determination as to when that time is, and make sure that your kids know, the trigger is bad if, you're using it wrong. And, it's up to you to keep your kids up to speed. But for now, what we want to do is show you a couple of the different devices that are out on the market right now. And every one of these right now is available on that really big website named for that river. And, we're not going to go there. We're not going to plug nobody's product. This isn't a matter of selling anything to you. It's just a matter of making you aware of what they do and how well they do it. And if there's anything you need to be concerned with. Now, what I have here are 3 biometric lay flat type of safes. These are made to handle either 1 or 2 firearms. Most of the time, it's 1. We have one that is an RFID chip read type, and we have 2 that are undermount. Now, the 2 that are undermount look almost identical, but you can, until you parse them out, and you can see that they're manufactured slightly different. But when you break them down inside, you look, well, the battery compartments are different, the buttons are different. They're probably all rolling out of the same place anyway. But we just wanted to go through them. And what prompted this video is my range that I belong to. I have a private membership where I can go and shoot at night. And that's where you see a lot of my indoor videos come from there. You'll notice there's nobody else around there because I'm there at 2 o'clock in the morning filming. A couple of weeks back, I went over and used my finger to get in the door. Well, unfortunately for me, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera, probably not. I won't bore you with it, but I was building something, and I was extracting a screw, and I grabbed a hold of the screw and left myself a pretty good second-degree burn in my finger of the screw. You could see the thread pattern in my finger. Well, that night I went to the range to go get myself in, and I was denied access because the reader could no longer recognize my fingerprint. So I started realizing that could be a very serious detriment if you should happen to own one of these. If you get a paper cut or a burn or something on your finger, anything that might distort your fingerprint may affect you gaining access to these. And sure enough, they did. And we've accumulated a couple in addition just to see if it would be the same thing. Now, I've programmed these all to respond to multiple fingerprints because you can store a lot of different fingerprints in these. Some of them let you have access up to 30 different fingerprints. If you own one, don't rely on just one fingerprint for you or anybody else that is an approved user. Get a couple of different fingerprints. These do not react at all if you have oil on your finger, if there's blood on your fingers, and in some cases even if you're sweating. The perspiration from your fingers and natural oils will prevent these things from working properly. Which brings us to point 2. You have to make sure that whatever one that you have has redundancy built into it. Now, each of these has got 2 or 3 ways to get in. They're fingerprint, RFID, or there's a keypad combination, and if all else fails, there's a key to get in. But we're going to go through some of these and show you what happens if any of those things fail. Now, the first thing that we're going to try is the fingerprint. Now, each of these has been keyed to my index finger. We're going to go through and we're going to show you what happens with when they work and when they don't. So we're going to try off the first one now. Just follow along. I'm going to try and keep this moving in a one-shot if at all possible. All right. The first one we have here, again, we're not mentioning any brands. It's got 5 numbers on the keypad, plus a biometric lock on it. Now, this is keyed to this finger. That was attempt 1. It took 2 attempts just now to get to my firearm. Just so you know, every firearm in these cases have all been cleared. They're all empty. There's no magazines and anything, so we just want to make sure that, we're all being safe. Now, with that being said, I had to wait 5 seconds after it misread my fingerprint in order to gain access. Worked this 3rd time. Now, if I go in with the keypad, I have the combinations written on each one of these things. All right, the keypad accesses properly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just put the wrong keypad in. "10 seconds. That's how long it takes for this to reset so that I could use the right one. 5 seconds for a misread fingerprint, 10 seconds for a misread key. This one is a 6-digit code. I have 123450. Opens up. I have access. Good to go. Fingerprint. Worked on the first time. What happens if I use the wrong finger? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seconds to clear it. Doesn't recognize my finger. Second attempt. Took 3 seconds for it to clear to recognize it on the second fingerprint attempt. This one is a lot heavier duty. 4 keys, four numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Entered the keys and it didn't open. Entered the keys and it didn't open. I'm going to try this with my finger. It opens. This one's large enough to hold 2 firearms in it. But as you just saw, the keypad combination wouldn't allow me to gain access to it. That time it did. This unit has no biometric on it at all. It has 4 digits. From the factory, it's set 1111. That's the factory code. It opens. No, it doesn't pop open for you, so you have to open it yourself. Gain access to your firearm. What happens if I put the wrong code in? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 seconds that it took before I have access again. This one comes with 2 RFID tags. These are programmed. You actually have to program it. Now, we programmed both of these several times to this. I've tried 4 times each key. Just so you know, I wasn't lying. On the 7th attempt, it allowed that to open. Now we have these 2. I built this little ugly contraption so I could show you what these are. These are meant to mount underneath a desk. Now again, each of these has a pre-programmed factory code of 1111. Allows you to reach in, grab your firearm. Well, that didn't exactly bode well. I'm going to try the index finger. Gained access. If I put the wrong finger, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seconds. It failed that time. Every time it fails, it resets the clock. So in a time of crisis, you're trying to get to that firearm, you're going to keep hitting that sensor over and over again, and it's going to keep, telling you it's locked out. So, well, now you got to remember the combination. Well, you can't get in it with the combination because it's still in lockout. Here's somebody trying to kick their way through your door. Well, by this time, you've gone through your fingerprint, and I showed you that my fingerprint was recognized. Showed you that it didn't recognize it the second time. In every one of those attempts, it keeps trying to reset itself, and in the process, locks me out. Now, when you have multiple attempts on any of these things and they lock you out, they take 2 minutes, from either 100 to 120 seconds, for these to reset back to the default that'll allow you to regain access to it. Now this one, that was really a surprise to me, to see that door open up on the way it did, because I had secured every one of these about 5 minutes before we started filming. And for that to open up the way it did, I don't know if secure is kind of the word I want to use, but we're going to try it again anyway. Now, enough time has gone by, this one should have reset. And there it goes. So you see that I'm not lying to you. It took about 100 seconds for that to reset itself. This one, again, 1111 is the code. That one opens. Be able to gain access to my firearm. Close it. Make sure it's secure this time. It is. I'm going to try the index finger. It opens up. If I try a finger that it's not programmed to. Oh, that's right. I programmed this one to my whole hand to this side. And that side. This is the one I was going to demonstrate that you want to be able to use as many fingers as possible. So if you're going to do it, make sure to program it to every one of your fingers. So at least, well, this one at least is operating on the fingerprints. But what happens again if you enter the wrong code? It's a lockout. Lockout. And that's it. The code was entered wrong 3 times. The illuminated ring around here is now blinking bright red. Won't allow me to gain access. I have to now wait for it to reset. Now, just to let you know, you do have a key with each one of these that will get you into your firearm. Except now you have to think to yourself, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's trying to kick through my front door. Where is my key? Because if the idea is to keep your firearm out of somebody else's hands, you're not going to leave your key in the box. You're going to have the key secured away someplace. So having the key there, you might as well just leave it open. And the same applies with these. If you're going to have the key, what's the point? If you're trying to keep the firearm out of somebody else's hand, the idea is to keep it secure. But the other important idea is to gain access to it as soon as you need to. Now, there's a company on the internet, you've probably seen their ads on Facebook, on YouTube, and everything else. They're strictly a mechanical device. It's 4 keys on the top and 1 on the side. I'm not advertising for them at all, but it's a very simplistic system. But like every other system, if you look at how these are constructed and you look at what it takes to actually get into them, you don't need a key. If you're worried about, keeping your firearm in your house so that somebody doesn't steal it, well, this is about the only thing that's going to stop that. They include these little cables with every one of these boxes, and there's a mechanism inside where you can fish the cable through and then bolt the cable down to something. Well, anybody who can cut one of these can gain access to your firearm. But if you look at how they're constructed, it would probably take no less than 5 seconds for the guy who just used a crowbar to get through your door to pry one of these things open and get your gun. So, are these things worth it? It's going to be up for you to decide not only what's worth your money, but it's going to be up to you to decide what's worth the security of your family. And like I said, if you're the type of person, if you got a roommate, you don't want messing with your firearm, great. One of these things would probably be great. If it's the kind of thing where you're secure in your environment and you want to make sure that your firearm is near you at all times, yeah, one of these is probably good if you're having company over and you want to throw the gun in there just to prevent any looky-loos from getting a hold of it or anything else like that. But if it's going to come down to a matter of your personal safety, your personal security, and that of your family, think long and hard about whether or not you want to put a $100, $200, $300 device that may or may not work when you need it in between you and the threat. And you guys can make that assessment for yourself. Like I said, some of these work fantastic, some of them not so much. We were going to actually give one of these away on the channel at some point, and we still might, and we still might do it. We're going to give these a really, really thorough testing, and whichever one of these things seems to hold up the best, that's going to be the most reliable, we're going to probably do a giveaway right here on the channel. And it'll still be up to you whether or not you want to use it. The jury's going to be out. In the meantime, this is Frank from the Range Report. You guys be safe, shoot straight, just make sure you can get to your gun when you have to.